Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my next video in my series of videos ranking every ranger of different colors in honor of the Once and Always recent anniversary special. I don't know if this is coming out before or after it or during it, but it's happening because of that. Let's get started though with my top 5 favorite Blue Rangers, and as always my disclaimer that this is just my personal list and not any sort of like this is the right list type of video, which it never is. But I'm sure that's not going to stop people from being mad in the comments anyways. Alright, as we always do, let's start with some honorable mentions. Coming in with Sky Tate, who I really do like. He didn't make the top 5 just because I was thinking about it, and he's a character I like, but he's not necessarily a favorite, but I thought he deserved an honorable mention because he is one of the more interesting characters, as they sort of use this idea of a second in command being the Blue Ranger as the stepping stone to Red Ranger with his personal story. And you know, this character that has all the outward qualities of a classic Red Ranger leader and the, right desire to want to be one and the right backstory with his father being a Red Ranger that people are still confused to think he's Wes. And yet he's, very arrogant and not trusting of his teammates, and he has to go on this journey in order to become the Red Ranger. He is one of the best and most interesting Blue Rangers in my opinion. He's just not necessarily a personal favorite, but worthy of an honorable mention. Another honorable mention, Tori from Ninja Storm. I always just liked Tori. I thought she was kind of the perfect mix of sort of a more girly ranger and also a badass ranger. She could be both. She was kind of the rock of the team, always getting everybody on track as everybody was kind of all over the place. Shane could be a hothead, Dustin was Dustin, the Thunder Rangers were there. And she just was always kind of the rock. She always kept everyone organized, especially in the episode where she had to, gather up the alternate universe version of the Lothar characters in I Love Lothar, which was really fun. And I always just liked Tori. Coming in at number 5 is Billy from mmpr, a character that I've had more recent appreciation for in the last handful of years. I always liked Billy okay. I was known to poke fun at how wimpy he was when he was running from one putty, but really that's a part of his development. And there's a couple reasons Billy became a more favorite character of mine. Number 1, I think that even in those early days, even though he didn't have the greatest fighting skills out there in the field when he wasn't morphed, he proved of value to the team. I mean, obviously when he morphed, he could go fight with the rest of them, but when he wasn't morphed, doing stuff like helping in the command center, doing the dishes, helping in the command center, and, making all the gadgets the series is known for his character and stuff like the Rad Bug, he proved to be not only just of value, but one of the most valuable members of the team without even having to learn how to fight. That being said, though, you do get to see him progress as a much more heroic and skilled character outside of the costume. I think this was in part to David Yost just getting ripped and being able to take his shirt off, and it was kind of one of those things that I think evolved more out of the character's performance because of the actor than it did the writers being like, oh, we're going to write development for Billy. But you really did get to see him grow and change over the course of the series, and, he wanted to learn karate to better himself. Not to mention, again, he proved himself to be one of the most valuable members of the team at the end of Season 3 and into Zeo when he didn't even have his powers. But I think makes him a great ranger, the fact that you can be a great ranger when you're not even a ranger. Just like they said in Ninja Storm, may not be Power Rangers, but we still have power! That was dorky. After that is 2017 Movie Billy. One of my favorites. I think a lot of people loved his character. He was sort of the heart of the group, the heart of the movie. I think they used his character to bond all the other characters, especially him and Jason, and show the themes of friendship of the movie and the series, in my opinion, in a cheesy way that wasn't dumb cheesy like the show can be, in my opinion. I'm just saying. And I like that they lifted, like with all the characters, in my opinion, for this movie, but that they lifted elements of the character of Billy from the show, but made it their own, and made this character that was the heart of the movie, the heart of the team, and one of my favorite Blue Rangers. And God, I wish we would have gotten more from that movie. I just love it so much. Number 3 is Flynn from RPM. I mean, I'm a sucker for a character that wants to be a superhero and gets to be a superhero. I find that to be both fun and inspiring when you see the reasons he wants to and how he's tried to be a hero in various ways, and he finally gets a chance when he becomes Ranger Operator Series Blue. But also, of course, I'm Scottish! It's one of the most iconic lines in the series. It's a part of this thing that it almost in a way encapsulates aspects of RPM just in that one scene, because it showcases its humor, it showcases his character in particular about something that's unique about him is that he's Scottish. Stop pretending like being Scottish is a personality trait. I'm just kidding. You know what I mean. And also, it encapsulates the humor of that series, as that line was delivered in reference to them poking fun at the tropes of the various archetype of the Rangers, which is just a lot of fun. And Flynn has always just been one of my favorites. One of the most likable, iconic, memorable characters, in my opinion. Not to mention, again, like I said, I'm a sucker for a character that wants to be a hero and finally gets to be a hero. Number 2 is Ethan, who on my list I misspelled and it says Ethan. But Ethan, I mentioned in my other videos that I think almost all the Dino Thunder characters make it on these lists, so I'm going to have a lot of similar points, because one of my favorite things about the Dino Thunder Rangers, in particular the core trio, is that they are all flawed characters that change. I mean, again, I have an extra appreciation for Disney-era flawed characters after the Pleasantville era of Neo Saban, but having these actual flawed characters, see them change and grow, become better people, and yet still have stuff to work. Work on, still have stuff to work. Work it. I'm sorry about that. I don't know, I'm weird again in this one. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, they still have stuff to work on. I used the example with Connor, how, at the beginning he was kind of a conceited douche, and then over the course of the series he becomes a better person, the heroic traits come out. But at the end of the series, he's still Connor, he's still got his flaws, he still tried to lie to Krista to get into her pants. Same thing happened with Ethan. He was trying to go for Krista too, did you know it? He's like, I know you, you're from Mystic Force from 2005 in the future, because I saw it in that weird space rock from the future. I'm getting weird with these references. His example was, in my opinion, his relationship with Cassidy, which was kind of weird. But the idea is that he kind of prejudged her. He had these preconceived notions, kind of like he did with Connor. He butted heads with Connor at the beginning of the series because they came from different worlds. He prejudged a lot of Connor. He disliked Connor. And he had a similar notion about Cassidy, and he had to move past that. And that was later in the series. And there was lots of little moments like that is one of my favorite things about the Dino Thunder cast, is they really became better people, they changed, but they never lost who they were, and they still showed that they had flaws, and they weren't all of a sudden, again, fixed. Not to mention, I thought it was a cool spin on like the geeky character. I've always said that Dino Thunder is like MMPR like 2.0 done right, where you're kind of inspired by it, but you go your own way, and you're inspired by the nerdy Blue Ranger character of Billy, but you updated it to modern day, with the whole computer nerd aspect. Not to mention he fights back and isn't just like, oh golly gee, I'll get in my locker. He's like, no, screw you, Connor. So it was this really great update. That being said, the episode where he like solves the bullying by showing him a computer program of soccering, it shows him the computer program of, becoming a better soccer player, I think that would get you beaten up worse. Like, if we're being honest, 99% of the advice on bullying in Power Rangers will get you bullied worse. And number 1 is Theodore J. Jarvis Johnson, TJ. Now, he made my honorable mentions for Red, but is my number 1 favorite Blue Ranger. And I don't want you to take that for disrespect, because I want TJ to be blue instead of red. It's just number 1, Space is my favorite series, so that's the version of TJ that I connect with and think of the most. When I think of the TJ character, I think of In Space and the Blue Ranger. Not to mention it was his own mantle. I guess in the comics he's like the 3rd one, but you know what I mean. Like, he didn't inherit it from Tommy. Not that I don't think he was a qualified Red Ranger, but I always just think of him as the Blue Ranger. But what I liked about him specifically as the Blue Ranger is, I liked that there was no drama over like, oh, Red's leader now. I don't think that was ever going to be a story, or that they ever intended it to be presented this way because of that. But I always saw it as like this really cool thing about TJ, that he didn't have an ego about it, and that he never allowed it to change his role in the team. Because to me, he still often felt like a leader, or at least a co-leader, always coming up with plans and strategies and taking charge. And that's something I liked about him as a Blue Ranger, and as this character that was now, serving on a team with the new Red Rangers. There was never any ego about it, and it never allowed him to change. I just thought that was kind of cool. Again, not that he's not great as a leader, and I never even thought about the leadership stuff too much in Space, if I'm being honest. I just kind of saw it as like, hey, here's the Rangers we're following with TJ as the leader, and now Andros is here. I don't know. It's just kind of the version of the character I always most associate. But that is it for my list. Let me know what your guys' list of Blue Rangers are in the comments. Like, not just a list of Blue Rangers, like your favorites, obviously. Can you just list Blue Rangers for me? Seriously, guys, I always like to know your picks in the comments always. Just keep it respectful for everybody. But until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.